Hello everyone. So today I want to talk about project roles, and this video is not only about project roles, because project roles is a very good way feature in Jira to manage permissions and to basically allow people to do something per project, because you can just create these roles and you can then ensure that you have the right permission schemes. And based on the permission scheme, whenever you add people to that particular project role in that project, that person or those people in that role will get the desired permissions. Now, what I want to talk about today is actually very simple. Now, sometimes you have to ensure that, number one, just like always, your Jira configurations should not be repeated. And whenever you're creating, let us say, a project role, try to reuse. And I've seen instances where people create too many roles with similar names, and this can be a problem. For example, right now I have a role called administrator, and if I try to, let us say, create a new role with the same name, it will of course give me an error. But if I don't really have the exact same name, maybe I add something like administrator instead of administrators, then it will, of course, it makes no sense that you have like too many roles with similar names. In fact, try to limit the roles, because whenever you add a new role, these roles will be available, and basically it will be there in all the projects. Now, what I want to talk about today is how to delete these roles. So deleting can be, of course, a very simple thing. All you need to do, you just need to click on the delete link here. And this was actually, I'm making this video in response to a question that someone asked me, in fact, a client of mine. And we were talking about regular health checks here. We were talking about how to ensure your Jira instance is not really messed up. And it has to be done, of course, regularly. Whenever you're doing something in Jira, make sure that you don't really do these bad things, like creating too many roles, for example. And of course, we have a lot of other things to worry about, like custom fields, but we were actually talking about roles. Now, the question was that if we delete a role, what exactly will happen? Now, good thing about Jira is, not always, but in majority of cases, if you have a configuration or a scheme or something which is used somewhere, then Jira will prompt you. Jira will most likely not let you delete it. For example, if I try to delete this role called administrator, let us click on the delete link here. And by the way, you can check here about, whenever you are working on these roles, you can actually check the usage. So there is a link called view usage. If you click on it, it won't really show anything here, which is expected because this is something that we just added. So you can click on the link here and it will give you an idea. Also, if you want to delete it, and by the way, there's something called as manage default members. So you can always add some users or maybe groups to this particular role, like all the time. For example, maybe I want to add myself to this particular role for each and every project. For example, right now it says the default user service hour, and maybe I'll add a default group that I want to be added to my, come on, what is the group name? Let me just try to search the group name. So this is something that a lot of people actually don't know about. So if I try to add this administrator group to this administrator role, and if you go back to the role, like when we look at the default member, so basically this role will always have these users or this specific user of this particular group. And let me just show you while we're doing it. Let us try to create a new group, or not a new group, but a new project. So let me add software development. I'll select here Scrum, user template. I want to add a company managed demo project 2, create project. And when we look at the project name, or basically when we go to the project role, or basically the users in this role, if I click on the people here, it will definitely have basically the administrators and Ravi Sagar. So this is something that that you can of course manage it. It is really convenient and useful feature. Now what I want to talk about today is, of course, we were talking about the roles and like clean up and manage the role, just to make sure that your roles are not really misused. So this role, administrator, is something that I want to now delete. Now, if I check the usage, it says that the project role is not associated with any notification scheme, permission scheme, or issue security scheme. So this is fine. This is good because you might be using this role somewhere in your permission scheme. Then Jira will prompt us. Now, if I click on the delete link here, it will show us that this particular role is again not really associated with any scheme. So go ahead and you can delete it. But if I try to delete something else, like maybe administrators, which I know it is being used. So if you click on the view usage, you can see here that a lot of permission schemes are actually using this particular role. And if you try to delete it, let us see what happens. Let us click on the delete link here. And so the thing is that this is again just a warning, because it says here deleting this project role will delete it from all projects and scheme. So project role administrators is used by 22 permission schemes. And if you now notice here, there is this option called delete, which is there. And I know it is a bit sad because you can actually delete it. Let us try to delete it. So for example, let us see if, so we have this role, or maybe I'll just add the same role again. So let us add administrator, the same role with the same name. I'll maybe add 2 users in this particular role. And what I will do, I will also modify, this is the thing, right? Because I might not be able to modify because I'm using a free plan, but let us see what we can do. So let me just go to the, let us try to use maybe, because I know I can't modify permission scheme on a free plan. Maybe I can. Let us try. Test permissions scheme. And even though I was able to create it, come on. So go to permissions, and I'll probably select here the role. Yeah, I'm actually able to create the permission, like define the permission scheme, but because I'm using a free plan, I believe it is not really possible to have like the same permission being applied or reused somewhere. For example, I can see here that each and every project is using its own permission scheme, which is a bit sad. Anyways, so now if I go back to the role, and if I try to check the usage of the role, most likely it should show that this particular role is being used in one of the permission scheme, which is definitely expected, right? So we can see here test permission scheme. If I go back and if I try to delete the permission scheme, let us see what happens. So Jira will let us delete the permission scheme, and it will actually remove the role from those schemes. So the thing is that although Jira is warning us, but Jira is also letting us delete it. At the same time, don't do it, by the way, number one, because it will because we are dealing with permissions, and permissions should be taken very seriously. And my recommendation would be to have someone senior review these permissions. And if you delete a role, and if you are using that role somewhere else, Jira will of course prompt you, warn you, but it will let you delete it, and it might cause problems. So people might not be able to do their work, or they will start shouting and complaining, and again, you don't really want it. So that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you learned something new today, and you also enjoyed watching this video, because today we tried something that we should not be doing. And that is it for today. And today, although I'm making this video on 31st of December, but this video will be live on 1st of January 2023, New Year. So happy New Year. And in case you want to join my webinar on 14th of January, you can come to my channel. You will find this link, or basically this upcoming video. So there is no sign up, there is no RSVP. Just click on this and make sure you are following this, or if you click on some button here, like to wait for this webinar to start. So time is 14th of January and 4 o'clock UK time, GMT, and I'll be talking about ITSM. All right, that is it for today. Bye bye.